Hi, welcome to SciencloPodia. This is where I talk about science in everyday life. I dedicate this podcast to kids and their whole family to enjoy, and anyone who wants to listen from a kid's perspective. Enjoy! Hi everyone! Today I have a special guest. The name of the special guest today is Ajie Nayaka Nikicio, but I like to call him Kak Ajie. He's a satellite engineer and he studied at MIT. What's even cooler is that he launched a satellite named Galassia with his team from Singapore. Do you know why satellites are important? That's right, satellites are important for connection, Google, GPS, and other sorts of things. Last year, Kak Ajie, with his team at MIT, joined a Hyperloop competition held by SpaceX and Elon Musk. Imagine that, going in a competition held by SpaceX. Right, let's call him now. Hello, Kak Ajie. How are you, Kak Ajie? Hello.
Hello. How are you, Rainer? Thank you for inviting me. This is such a great invitation. I'm looking forward to talk everything about space with you today.
Kak Ajie, I was recently talking about the Hyperloop competition held by Elon Musk and SpaceX. Can you tell me more about it? Because you participated.
Right. Sure. I think I was lucky that when I was I am still in MIT right now, but last year, I got a chance to join the MIT Hyperloop team as a lead electrical engineer. And actually, we started around in December 2018. And we knew that the final competition will only be a week long in the SpaceX headquarters in July 2019. So we had about 6 months to build the pod. That is, we weren't tasked to build the whole Hyperloop. So in SpaceX headquarters, they had a mile-long vacuum tube, and that is actually the longest vacuum tube ever built in the world. They actually required us to develop a prototype of such a pod, and it's up to us whether we want to use what kind of propulsion or what kind of levitation technology. Even actually, there are so many other teams in the competing teams, not from MIT, who even departed from the idea of using levitation. So they actually just used wheel-based propulsion. Yeah, but it was really exciting.
Ajie, how difficult is it to join the team in MIT to join in the Hyperloop competition? Is it difficult or not?
Well, at the time, actually, as an MIT student, everyone is very busy. First of all, busy with classes, busy with research. So a competition like this, although it's very exciting and very rewarding, but at the same time, it takes a lot of time. Actually, since I joined, I basically said goodbye to my weekends because I dedicated my weekend to build the pod.
Wow, you must have worked hard actually.
Well, it was rewarding. So although definitely it was a lot of work, but it was really rewarding because at the end we got to fly to SpaceX headquarters and actually test the pod inside the tube. And that was just such an amazing experience to be able to get our pod directly criticized and also tested by the SpaceX employees, and also by Elon Musk at the end of the competition. He actually came on the final day and gave some speech, and yeah, it was a very fun and amazing experience.
Did you meet Elon Musk?
I didn't meet him in person, unfortunately, because he was too popular. Well, he's too popular, and at the on the day itself, I saw him from the stage, of course. That's one, but I didn't get to meet him in person, unfortunately. But it was already a very interesting experience that usually I only see him on YouTube or maybe on news or on Twitter. But this time I could actually see him directly, and yeah, he's just like what we see on the internet. No difference.
Kak Ajie, I also was talking about your satellite named Galassia with your team in Singapore. Is that true, Kak Ajie? Can you tell me more about Galassia and what is it used for? How large is it and how much does it weigh?
Sure. Thank you for the question. So when I was in Singapore, actually, I got a chance to join the Galassia team, and I was actually one of the first team or the first batch in the school to be able to build a satellite from our university called National University of Singapore, where I did my bachelor's. And Galassia is about 2 kilogram satellite. It's the size of a shoebox, so it's very small. But that is exactly what has enabled the democratization of space. Because we know, if we look at the history of space, it's always something that is very expensive, very unreachable, only for the governments or the friends of governments. But this time, even a university student, and I think today, which is only less than a decade then from when I launched in Galassia, there have been many teams around the world, even from high school and primary school, who have started working on smaller satellites. Yeah, so this is the revolution of electronics industry, which is very exciting.
Do you think we can make a satellite at home?
I think so. Of course, I didn't used to think so. At first, I was tasked myself to build, as you know, in maybe if I can explain a little bit more, a satellite has a number of components inside. It has a communication, it has batteries and power. It also has something called the control system, whereby it is it has the task to maneuver the satellite, right? So because we want the satellite to be able to point to the right location on Earth. So at the time, I was focusing myself on the control system, and I had to build the hardware. I had to design the printed circuit board, and I had to code the software. When I chose the components to be used on those circuits, it's very hard for me because I had never built a satellite before, and I had never built anything that has gone to space before. So for me, is this going to work? What if it fails? Because we only have one chance, right? We don't have another chance to launch it again. So at first I thought that, but the more I do my literature review, the more I consult with people and do a little bit more research, I found out that especially for satellites that travel in the low Earth orbit, by low Earth orbit, it means anything that is below 1,000 kilometers altitude. And for comparison, ISS travels at around 400 kilometers altitude. So ISS is in the low Earth orbit, yeah. Actually, the radiation and and also the amount of the thermal cycle, it's not as severe, and that is why so many small satellites, just like Galassia that I built, we use a number, or actually a lot, a lot of commercial grade components that we can use, that are already used in our smartphone, for example. And if we look at our smartphone, actually it's already so much better than computers that are on the ISS because they are using some older technology. Yeah, our smartphone is already much better.
I can't believe something small can actually be better than a computer in the ISS. Kak Ajie, what are satellites used for? And did you know that satellites aren't just from us? Some satellites can be like the moon because it's orbiting around the Earth.
Yes, right. So the definition of satellite actually is something that orbits a heavier body, right? And the moon is also a satellite, but it's a natural satellite. And in today's context, when we talk about satellite, it's usually referring to artificial satellites that are built by humans. So satellites in general, of course, they are not launched for fun. Yeah, although today's satellites, right? Yeah. So although today's satellites are getting more and more cost effective, which is why high school students or primary school students can already start to join in building satellites. Still, it's still quite pricey and risky. So generally, a satellite has three kinds of usage. One is Earth observation. Two is right. Two is communication, and three is navigation. Of course, apart from these three, of course, we can take these three into other planets as well, like to the Mars, for example, and to the Moon. There is a Moon observing satellite. There is a Mars observing satellite. But generally, these are the three usages.
Kak Ajie, what kind of satellite is the Hubble Space Telescope?
Right. Okay. Hubble Space Telescope is a satellite, and it's not. It doesn't belong in the three categories that I just mentioned. So, good point for bringing up a Hubble Space Telescope. Hubble Space Telescope is a spacecraft or satellite that is useful for exploring the outer space, right? So, and also in order for us to understand our world a little bit better. So this is a more outward-looking satellite, whereas for Earth observation, it's more inward-looking satellite. In order to be able to help us as the humans living in Earth.
Kak Ajie, you know that there's lots of satellites in space. How can they float in space in zero gravity without bumping into each other and smashing?
Right. So, first of all, the way satellite works is actually governed by the law of gravity. So, and satellite, they they are able to orbit the Earth because of the gravity force that is that is acted on the satellite from the Earth. And satellite will be able to orbit. Will be able to orbit only if it has certain velocity, and that is why we need the rockets to deliver the satellite as an initial velocity. When the satellite travels fast enough, then it can orbit the Earth. Now, how is it possible that they are not smashing at each other? Actually, it is not true that there is no such incidents before. Actually, there have been a number of incidents that are that have been very vital, that has caused a number of debris and thousands of debris in the orbit. So this was, although the space is very vast, and there is it's still very low probability for like one satellite hitting from each other, but it still happened, and which is why we need space traffic management, and just like how we have air traffic management, right? And we do this by having radar. So on Earth, the US, for example, they own a very large radar that can track the satellites moving on Earth.
Wow.
And this is how we control the traffic. But there is another catch. Unlike an airplane, a satellite cannot maneuver as fast. So, and also some satellites, if you watch sci-fi movies, satellites usually maneuver themselves by using some sort of thruster or propulsion. It works just like if we take a fire extinguisher, a tank, a fire extinguisher, and we spray it, then it will push you away, right? So it's the same kind of principle, but it is not mandatory as of now in all satellites, and there are other ways for satellites to maneuver itself.
What are
So, right. Actually, the most popular way is to use what is called reaction wheel, and the way it works, it works by the principle of angular momentum. And so, if we for example,
what's that?
So it's actually a wheel that is contained inside the satellite, and if we rotate the wheel, as maybe you have guessed now, the satellite will rotate the other way around because of the principle of angular momentum. It is the action and reaction of the rotation.
Oh, I think
Yeah,
because of Newton's force, there's an equal and opposite reaction. Is that true?
that is correct. And for so that is another way of maneuvering a satellite. There is another way that
Can rockets bring satellites, or is there another way? Is that true? How do you send Galassia? Did you pay for a rocket, or did you make your own one? Or did the rocket maybe by a drone or something?
So there are only a limited number of launch providers or the rocket operators in the world today. There are only a certain number of countries who can do that. And for us, we actually hopped on India's rocket, so which was launched in the southern part of India. So today, in order to launch a satellite, we don't really have to own a rocket. We don't have to buy the whole rocket. We just like ordering an Uber.
Yeah.
we can sometimes share with some other people on the Uber, right? It's called the Uber pool. So it is the same concept. In rockets, we have something called a ride share as well, and we split the cost to go to the space.
Is it like SpaceX rockets? Was the design similar?
Yes, that's right. Although I will still say that SpaceX is one of the best rocket manufacturers today, because they are the first to demonstrate reusable rockets, right? So that is the innovation from SpaceX, and the hope is that by making reusable rockets more and more prevalent or more common,
For the environment.
The price to go to space will be more cost effective.
Kak Ajie, do you know what fuel they use, SpaceX?
Well, as far as I know, it's methane and liquid oxygen for the oxidizer. But I might be wrong. But there's a number of other fuel options. Yeah.
Shall I tell you the answer, Kak Ajie? The answer is
What's that?
kerosene. The answer is
kerosene.
The fuel they chose is kerosene, just like the plane jet. Imagine using a Boeing 737 and you use it's the same fuel as a SpaceX rocket. If you knew that.
Oh. Wow, yeah, I didn't know that. That's really cool.
Ajie, I have a book here. It's called A Guide to Space, and it tells you all about space. Do you want to hear more about this?
Yeah, could you share a little bit more?
So
do you like the book?
Fun facts about it, and I still remember I made a podcast about this. I was reading one about the rocky planets, and I'm making a gas giant one, but because now I can connect with people, I can create a gas giant connection with you maybe, or create this Zoom WhatsApp group where the people can talk all about it.
Wow, that's a really wonderful idea.
What was your
Can I join?
dream when you was a kid? What was your dream when you was a kid? Was it to be a satellite engineer or an astronaut?
To be honest, I have never dreamed about becoming a space engineer or an astronaut before. So when I was a kid, I remember I wanted to become a scientist, and there was another time as well that I wanted to become a priest. So it's definitely a range of options, right? And I think the more I grew, I sort of crystallized a little bit better what I like and what I wanted to do. For example, as I entered junior high school and senior high school, I started competing in robotic competitions, out of the Lego Mindstorms. Do you know?
Oh, I remember I was reading a book. It contained the word Lego Mindstorms. It's when again this other guy made from his project he made a braille printer that was cheaper than a normal one.
Wow, that's really cool. Yeah. So when I was introduced to Lego Mindstorms, I actually, it's like a door to so many kinds of imagination. So actually, that what brought me intrigued into engineering, to technology, building something with my own hands, and as I grew older and I entered the university, I decided to study a little bit deeper about the electronic side of things, and that is why I chose electrical engineering. And in there, then I had the chance to build a small satellite, and I realized actually it is not only fun and not only very cool, but it is also very useful.
Yeah.
And if we look, for example, in Indonesia is a country of islands, and without satellite, without satellite, we couldn't afford communicating. So it is a must. It's a must for us to have a satellite.
Kak Ajie, do you think every kid can go to MIT? Because I know that MIT is in first rank university in the US. In the world.
Yeah, I just heard that it's in the world now. For now, the short answer is yes. The longer answer is that, well, the reality is that every school, not only school, even like workplaces, they only have limited number of people to join, right? And so in order to be one of them, we first of all, we have to have the courage, right? We have to have the dream. We have to dream first.
Yeah.
So like I said, it's possible.
But
then how and then how can we get there is we try to align our vision, or align what is it that MIT is doing and what is it that we are doing. Are they aligned? Are they do we have similar interests? And I think as long as kids dedicate their time to science and technology, which is what MIT is about, I think there is always a way to join an institution
What's
in the world.
your suggestion for kids who want to be like you and generate satellites and go to the Hyperloop contest? What's your suggestion for kids who want to be like you?
So, in my opinion, the first step is really to dare to dream as many as many and as varying options as possible. So I think I was lucky enough that although no one in my family have done anything related to electrical engineering and more so space engineering, I have the freedom to explore that, and I think I did that Also by expressing expressing how I am, how this is, how interested I am in this field, and also how I am dedicated in this field, and how this field can be useful for our friends, for a lot of people. So I think for kids, I would say, if you have something that interests you,
Then do it.
then do it, right? Prove that what is it that you want to do is your passion, and it is also something that can help a lot of people. And if I can add one more thing, is that science, I think, should not be underestimated. Yes, so the science is not only right, and
Science, laptops, it's everywhere.
right.
Science, rocks,
Yeah,
gravity, everything is science. Whatever.
right. So I would like to say that there shouldn't be any dichotomy of whether science is boring or science is fun. Science is necessary, right? Of course, it is fun, but more important, it is necessary, because in any path that we take, and in our dream, I mean, not everyone has to be a scientist, right? Of course, if everyone becomes a scientist, then I don't think this world can operate. But regardless of what you do in the future, you still need science. Even if we take football uses science,
Angles.
right? And not only that, yeah.
I think I know one more, but maybe it's the football. If it's aerodynamic, the shapes that can use, it's math and science combined.
Yes, that's right. And right. And as the football player, once after they finish a match, they will rewatch the match, and they will study. They study their mistakes and improve, and that is science, right? Science is not about it's not only right. It's not only about the nature, but it's about using data. Yeah.
Investigate.
It's right. So it's important everywhere. So I will encourage everyone to try science, because it is useful, but most important, is also fun.
Kak Ajie, thank you for being in my podcast. How do you like this podcast? And shall I continue it?
Thank you so much, Reina, for having me. It's really my pleasure to be here. Of course, if we ever have another version of this, I would love to join again. And I think you should keep doing this, because I would love that kids around the world, and not only kids, but also
knowledge.
Right.
You can't just keep the knowledge for yourself. It's good to share it.
Yes, and I think what is unique about SciencloPodia is that we now can hear more, not only from from me, but also from you. As an 8-year-old, that is very encouraging for everyone to start science. Not looking at the age. You don't have to wait. You don't have to wait to enter high school to love science. You can do science
at, like junior high school, primary school, university, and then you can still like it.
Right. You can like science as early as possible, and you can start doing it as early as possible.
Kak Ajie, let's continue this podcast in another version. Because I done rocky planets, do you want to make it gas giants this time? We're
Yes.
gonna be talking about them.
Oh, that will be very interesting. Actually, I myself want to learn. So please continue the podcast. And I, if I can be part of it, it is my pleasure and my honor to be able to join the podcast. And I would love to even learn more from your podcast, Rainer. Thank you so much for doing this.
Kak Ajie, did you know I have a Spotify and Instagram, and we're all called SciencloPodia. You can search up and follow and see our latest news.
All right. I actually already followed the Instagram and Spotify, and right after this, I will ask my friends, my family, to follow SciencloPodia as well.
Bye, Kak Ajie. Thanks for being in my
Thank you, Rainer.
podcast.
Goodbye.
Next time.
See you again.
Bye.